Just a couple of months ago, I stood in this exact spot and spoke to you guys about the upcoming Strawberry Place developments. The development scheme set to build a new high-rise residential block, hotels, car park right in front of St James's Park on land previously owned by Newcastle United itself. In that video, I went through what I believed to be negatives to that development, blocking the fantastic view of St James's Park, building in what is already a very busy area and on land that could have been better used by the club, and also potentially scuppering any future expansion plans. Well, today I am here to potentially make a few Newcastle fans very happy, as it's understood that development is now on hold and could well be scrapped altogether. Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. That's right, the Strawberry Place developments set to take place right next to me here, right in front of St James's Park, are now on hold. And it's thought that the plans to go ahead with hotels, restaurants, new residential high-rise buildings could well be scrapped altogether. And could that potentially lead in to an option for Newcastle United, for the Newcastle owners, to buy back the land, reintroduce the possibility of using this land for the better of the club, for the potential of St James's Park expansion? I hope so. And we will talk about that later on in this video, but I would like to start rolling back the clock and talk a little bit about what exactly was planned here, what exactly has happened here. Well, we know the land did originally belong to Newcastle United, and Mike Ashley and the club, it's understood, took the decision to sell the land for a reported £7 million. Now, for me, £7 million for a piece of land in Newcastle city centre that is integral to potential expansion of the stadium, is the final piece of land available next to the stadium for that price, is crazy. And since the land was sold, we have seen plans and digital images of what the development would look like here outside of St James's Park, and I have spoken about what potential positives the development could bring, because I'm sure it would bring some. But for me, with my black and white Newcastle glasses on, and as a Newcastle fan, it also brought a lot of negatives as well. One of the big ones for me is the fact that St James's Park is our cathedral on the hill. It's one of the first things you see when you enter the city. It's one of the last things you see when you leave the city, and to put high-rise buildings right out the front of it was just not something that I was particularly keen on seeing. And you could talk about the road outside of St James's Park, which is already incredibly busy on a match day, to now add hotels, flats, car parks, all with the same access to the same road. It's going to get even busier. And then you turn to talk about Newcastle United a little bit more. And it's not just me standing here complaining on a video. There has been protests by a number of people about this development. The local MP, Labour MP, Chi Onwurah, actually wrote a letter to the North of the Tyne Combined Councils with some of the things that she thought needed to be considered before this development was allowed to go ahead. One of them actually was about the metro stop right behind us here. It was actually written into the development plans that they would refurbish and rejuvenate the metro station St James's. But she did not believe that that could be included with what they were proposing. And then she goes on to talk about Newcastle United itself, raising one of the big issues for many fans, in that, as I've mentioned earlier on, could potentially scupper any future expansion of the ground, and then went on to also mention the fact that this land was owned by Newcastle United. I think that's one of the big sticking points for me. If this land had never been owned by the club, and they went on to development and build something here, then it wasn't, well, I say ours, like I owns Newcastle United, but as a fan, you feel like because it was something that we had hold of and could have used and then haven't been able to, I think it hurts that little bit more. So then, what has changed? What has changed since the development was planned, understood to be agreed and accepted by the council to now be put on hold? Well, the North of the Tyne Combined Council had a meeting about the development to discuss as to whether they believed it was the correct thing to go ahead with, and it's understood that they decided to place it on hold. Since the land was bought, since the development was organised, it's thought that things like the pandemic have slowed the progress of the development. It's also thought that there could well have been some money issues with the development as well, and the North of the Tyne Combined Councils were set to put in £3.5 million into this development, and it's now thought that they have decided that it may not have been the best use of the money. I think one of the big things for me and one of the big talking points of that meeting, and I think from Newcastle fans generally, is that, as I've mentioned, the new owners, they could potentially want to do something with this land. But I think one of the big things is the ambition of the new owners and the fact that if St James's Park is unable to extend, would the new owners instead look to move the stadium altogether? And this is my opinion now. If the councils were to put in £3.5 million into a development like this, it may bring immediate positives in terms of having more hotels for people to visit, jobs for the area, more flats, more council tax, all that kind of thing. But generally speaking, in terms of a long-term project, this stadium brings 52,000 people in every 2 weeks, sometimes more often. How many of those people are walking through the streets of Newcastle, going to the restaurants, going to the pubs, going to the shops? And if Newcastle were to decide, well, you know what? We can't access that land. We can't extend the stadium. Let's have a look at moving the stadium somewhere else, to invest in a project to potentially scupper one of the biggest attractions in the city centre, for me, as I say, in my opinion, is the right reason as to why they have decided to put it on hold. Now, I will say it again, as I did at the start of this video, I certainly don't know exactly what is going to happen next. I think it's good news for a Newcastle fan that things have been stopped, but it's not to say they won't come back again. It's not to say that those people who currently own the land can still come back with a new idea, with a new plan, with new investors, and still develop the land. But what we hope is, could this be a good time for the Newcastle owners to step in and try and buy it back? And I think for most Newcastle fans, that is what we would like to see, for the Newcastle owners to step in at this time of potential indecision, uncertainty over the St James's Park developments. Would the developers now more than ever be open to an offer from the Newcastle United owners to buy back the land? And as I mentioned, it's understood that in that council meeting, a lot of discussions revolved around how the proposed development could affect the future of Newcastle United and St James's Park. Would that therefore not also be a great time for the Newcastle owners to speak to the council? They have effectively backed them up in their meeting. Could Newcastle come in now and say, we would like to join these discussions of what we could do with that area? You guys let me know your thoughts down below. That, as a Newcastle fan, is what I would like to see. I think one of the big things for me is, in this new ambitious era of Newcastle United, the potential to expand St James's Park is as much needed and wanted as it's ever been. And the thoughts of a potential 80,000, 100,000 seater stadium outside of Newcastle is possibly also, you know, more likely than it's ever been as well. And if I had the option, for me, keep St James's Park here forever, you know, back the city, back the club, back the ground. And if what that means is spending money on this piece of land over here to keep St James's Park, our city centre stadium, our cathedral on the hill, I'm really hoping the owners can go out and do something. Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. Drop a like and subscribe if you are still watching all the way till the end of this video. As I said, and I will say it again, it's understood the plans have been put on hold. What happens next with the Strawberry Place developments, if I'm honest, your guess is probably just as good as mine, but I'm hoping, you know, that in terms of Newcastle, St James's Park, Newcastle fans, we could be making a step in a good direction. Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. Drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.